everyone, it's Andrew. I just thought I'd make a video on jury service because I've actually been a juror before. So I made a video on my own experiences and what to expect from it, and basically just some questions you might be thinking about yourself on it. Firstly, what jury service is basically where members of the public are asked to be jurors in a court case. The actual service itself is mandatory. You have to go. There's only a couple of circumstances and they have to be exceptional when you can't take part. Something like if you've got a major operation at a hospital like heart surgery or something, or say something like a family member dies, they're the only circumstances you can usually get out of it. To be selected for jury service, I believe it's completely random, but what happens is you get a letter through the post saying jury summons, and all it is basically tells you the details of the service, and you got to fill it in, and then once you send it off, you get details of your court case when you've been accepted. I believe they'll look into your personal history to see if you'll be accepted, and then obviously once the decision comes back, you usually get a letter through the post. The service itself is, as I say, it's mandatory, but you do get paid for doing the service, so when you go to work, there's no valid excuse not for going. I would recommend going to it even if you've been before, just because it's a different experience, but it's something I did enjoy, although I would recommend a few things. There was one of the first things I thought of is obviously what you're doing basically is you're listening in on a court case, and based with, I think it's 11 other jurors, you come to a verdict of guilty or not guilty. What will happen is you'll get a letter through the post once you filled it in, you get your court case, and then you go to the case. You'll be basically going to, well, first things first is what the question one of our asked is, what do you wear? That was one of the things I looked at. I looked on YouTube to try and get an idea of what it was about when you do jury cases. Basically, it's essentially you can go in casual clothing. I mean, the first day I went in shirt and trousers because I wasn't sure what to wear, but you generally get the opinion once you're there of what people's going to wear. I mean, next days after that, you can just wear t-shirt, trainers, jeans, that type of stuff, but everyone should just go smart, and then you'll get the basis of the next day anyway. Couple of pointers I'd recommend is it is an interesting subject, but you can be waiting an extremely long amount of time. So take a book or something to watch, because obviously you might not have a good day. So you can listen to music, listen to tolerable levels anyway. Don't blast it, because obviously there's other people there who might not like it. But take a book, take a paper, anything like that, because you could be there a long time. One case I was sitting there for nearly 3 hours before I even got something. The cases you'll have, when you go in, you'll basically be sitting down on a bench. I watched the videos on YouTube, and before you hear anything or before you hear any details of the court case, you basically sit in the waiting area. You'll have your name called out, and then obviously if your name's called out, you'll go into the bench, and then this is the point where the person on trial has the option of getting rid of you, whether they relate to you or whether they know you personally. You can't attend. It's also the same. It's also the same from yourself. If you know them, you've got to object to it and explain why. Usually the court, I believe, does a background on it anyway, so it's not too bad. But once you go down, you'll be sitting down, and before any details of the course explained, you'll be asked to swear into this. There's two options: one for religious and one for if you're not religious. If you're religious, you swear on the Holy Bible. I swear by Almighty God, that type of stuff. If you're not a believer in God, like you're Muslim or something, I believe you give them something else to swear on. I think it's the Quran, I'm not sure. Whereas I myself am not religious, so there is an option where you can just affirm. You basically go something like, I truly declare and affirm that I will faithfully try the defendant based on the evidence given and give a true verdict based on the outcome, something like that. But basically all it is like what you firmly believe in. If you're religious or not, that's what you swear by. So if you're not believing in God, don't swear by him. There was some people there who saying they were going to affirm because they didn't believe in God, and they end up going by the book of I swear by Almighty God, but I think it's because they didn't want to be different. But I'm not a believer in God, so I'm not going to swear by something I don't believe in. I base all my beliefs on my own values and things, so obviously I swear by what I believe in. Once you've been sworn in, that's when you'll hear the details of the case. You've got to remember there is two sides to every story. Always remember that. There is the first person who will be reading out the case, or rather the judge will be explaining what will be going on first, but First person will be reading out the case will be the defence. They'll be basically giving the story of the defendant, what they're being accused of, what the evidence is, and obviously their defence behind it, why he shouldn't be convicted guilty. And usually you think, all right, I can't remember, it might be the other way around, but there's basically two sides: there's defence and prosecution, and then the defence is their aim is to say he's not guilty, and obviously you can base your evidence off that, and then once you hit the other side of the story, you've got to listen to both sides. So your prosecution will say this is the reason why he's guilty, blah blah blah, and obviously once you've heard that, you then go to a room and you've got to make up your mind. You should have a unanimous decision, but sometimes it can be split. The judge asks for a unanimous decision. I had, I think, 3 cases. I'll not give the details, but I'll not give the details because it's still, I don't know if it's ever been done yet, but basically there was someone accused of drugs. There was accused of drugs and it was held inside a shopping bag, and the defence was basically saying you can't prove it because all the evidence is it's a shopping bag with fingerprints on, and then that was the defence. The defence was basically saying, do you shop here? And then that instantly threw it out the window. You can't ask for extra evidence. You've got to basically give your opinion on the evidence you've heard. So if you're saying he's got 50 scales full of drugs, and then the defence says them just slipped out, you can't accept it for just saying someone might plant them there. You've just got to go by what evidence is given. What you do get though is, I believe the judge asks you to make a decision based on circumstantial evidence, which is what you've heard. So if you're not sure, and the circumstantial evidence is based, if you're not sure whether it's guilty or not guilty, and you can't go for more evidence, circumstantial evidence, I think, is basically what your head says. Is it right? Is it wrong? Do you believe in it? Do you not? Those are the type of questions you should be asking yourself. What will happen is you'll be sitting through the case. I don't believe you'll have to go for any bathroom breaks until the case break or not, but you'll be listening through the case, listening to all the explanations, obviously sworn in, things like that, and then once you take a recess, you'll be going into the room, or if it's a particularly long case, you'll be going up the jury waiting area, and then obviously you'll be filling out any consensual forms, but you're not allowed to discuss the case with anyone, and if anyone tries to get you to discuss it, then you need to speak to your jury officer to let them know, because obviously it's confidential. Even people who are there on jury service with you are not allowed to know about the case until it's, the only time you're allowed to discuss it is when it's actually over and released to the general public, because then you've got all the information on it, although it's a bit of a grey area. I wouldn't recommend doing it anyway. But summary, you've got jury service. It's first initiated by, you'll get a letter through the post saying jury summons. You've been selected for jury service out of a random number of people, although supposedly you do get it every 2 years anyway, so it's possible I might be going up again for jury service in another year. You get jury summons through the post. You've been randomly selected, providing you've got no exceptional circumstances such as hospital appointments or I believe holidays. I'm not sure about that one, because you can't, I don't think you can defer them, but when you're on jury service, you can't cancel it, but you can defer it. So if you've got a hospital appointment or a funeral, you can defer it then, or possibly a holiday because that's been pre-booked. That's the only times I believe you can defer it, but you still have to do it. Whereas if not, then go to it. Obviously you need to tell your employer work, possibly how long you're going to be away for. If it's a major case like a rape or a murder, it could be lasting forever, but most cases it's generally about 2 weeks, and you're not released for it until you are. So once you get it, you fill in the deal, send them off. You'll then get a letter through the post saying your date of when you've got to go to an appointment, where you've got to go to. I mean, it may be worth, if you don't know the area, just go down there a week beforehand, just have a walk around the town, get to know the area, and then just find out where your nearest thing is, so you're not lost on the day. When you go there, the one I went to, it was a Crown Court, so I had to go through a security gate. You probably have to go through them all, but there was a security gate with metal detector. Obviously you've got to scan yourself in. You'll be then led up to the waiting room for the waiting area. Obviously deciding what you wear on the day will be, if it's what you wear on the day, just wear casual or smart, depending on if there's a specific dress code it might tell you, but if not, just wear smart, and the next day you'll find out what to wear anyway. If there's any questions, call up and ask your jury officer. Once you go in, just wait around, take a good book or two to read because you'll need them. heavily recommend that, by the way, because I was waiting a long time, so I really do recommend taking a couple of long books, otherwise you'll be bored a lot. So in the waiting area, you wait around, and then the main jury officer will be coming up. They'll read out your names, or they'll read out a list of names. They're the ones who's been selected to go to a room. So you walk down, you go to that room, and then out of that, there'll be another 12 names randomly selected for the jurors. You walk to the box, you basically sit down, and then this is where the candidate will object, and if not, then you'll be sworn in, you do your sworn. After that point, the case itself will be read out and described here, and then obviously you'll hear all the verdicts. There's the prosecution and defence. As mentioned, the defence will be basically trying to convince you that they're not guilty. Prosecution will be basically telling you everything, what's clear, what in their opinion is light as day, to say why they are guilty, and it's your decision to base on that. Once you hear all the verdicts and everything's been, and what will happen is once all the evidence is being read out, and before they're then waiting for a final verdict, you'll get the defence and the prosecution will sum up each case, the reasons of why they're guilty and why they're not guilty, and then the judge will basically explain what's going on, why they need to give this evidence and why it's important. You then go to a waiting room, and where you can discuss between yourselves. You get coffee and biscuits, of course, but this is where you'll take your packed lunch, because usually if you're in a case like this, it's best to take your lunch in the room, and then there's in my case there was just a bench, but you just basically put it on there. So if you expect to work through your lunch, you can then just go in the room and grab your lunch as you go in. Don't go in there in the right mind that everyone's guilty, everyone's not guilty. There is always two sides to every story, and then listen upon the evidence. Be faithful to yourself and truthful. Don't just say they're guilty, because you've got to remember that this is someone's life that you're possibly dealing with. You can't charge them with a death sentence, but your opinion is to give your honest opinion if you think they're guilty or not. If you think they're not guilty, you're possibly releasing a dangerous person back to the public. On the other hand, if they're not guilty, you're possibly releasing an innocent person. If you class them as not guilty and they're dangerous, you're releasing a dangerous person possibly back to the public. Whereas if they are guilty and you say they are, you're getting rid of them, as putting them in prison. And you're not putting them in prison, but the judge will decide that. And on the other hand, if you say a person who's potentially violent is guilty, you'll send them to prison you could be sending them to prison or giving them a serious thing which could implicate them in future life or cause them problems when they're clearly not. You could have someone who's you might hear a story of, say, a man beating a woman, but what you didn't know is that she might have stabbed him first with a knife or something like that, but that'll be evidence which is given. This is why you need to make a clear decision on it, and obviously that's my opinion, so hopefully it'll help you out a bit more. But summarise: receive letters, fill in, take books, casual or smart clothing. You need to affirm or swear by Almighty God, and then obviously be a citizen, but everything has to be true and faithful. And hopefully that's it. I'm not really good for a speech on this, but hopefully it might help you out. And if you have any questions, just give us a ask. There you go.